All right, Ray. Mark is asking, are post-COVID cars worse? And I'm guessing he's saying, are they worse, the cars that are coming out now, than they were pre-COVID?
I would say cars that were definitely built during COVID, the quality of those vehicles appears to be a little worse than normal. Because let's face it, their staff was short. They never knew who was going to show up on any given day due to illnesses. So there wasn't the same consistency of effort put forth by the same people on a daily basis. So quality did decline during the pandemic when they were building cars. Now today, fast forward 2 years, is the quality better today than during COVID years? I would suspect that it might be. Although we still see a tremendous number of recalls and we still read about a tremendous number of quality issues. Um, but oftentimes I'm not sure if it's the quality of the build or the quality of the parts that the manufacturers are getting from their part suppliers that is causing issues. But I know if it were me and I was looking at a pre-owned car, if the car was built 22, maybe 23, late 2021, I might pass simply because of A, the chip shortages, and B, the worker shortage during that time.
So I'm a used car dealer. What I'm kind of concerned about is that years from now, when these cars get down to the range of where I can buy them, uh, how bad is it going to be when we have certain functionality that's missing in the car that was meant to be in? I know there were a lot of news articles out there about, okay, cars getting shipped, but because they didn't have the chips, like they didn't have heated seats, but they had the button for the heated seat. It says they have heated seats, but the chips were just never put in the car to make this actually function. And I'm worried for me and my business is that, okay, 5-10 years down the road, I'm going to have cars that have just missing functionality when, okay, it's supposed to be there, but it's not there because it just never came out from the factory like that.
Hopefully, you're not the one holding the bag. Um, it's going to be an interesting time on a lot of those pre-owned cars, simply because there were things that most of them were supposed to have, and some of them did not. And some of the chips were supposed to have been installed after the fact, and in many cases they were not. So it's going to be kind of like shooting craps when it comes to some of these used cars as to all the functionalities that they do or don't have. Um, and let's face it, most people aren't buying it for the functionalities that you know. Would they like that it had heated seats if it did? Yeah. Can they live with it if it doesn't? Well, if it's a $5,000 car, my guess is they can.
Yeah, in my scenario, it's probably going to be okay if it doesn't have heated seats. Hell, most of the ones that I have, if they have heated seats, they probably don't work anyway.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
anyway, so I wanted to go back and talk. So we have differing opinions on when Trump gets into office, if tariffs are going to increase prices for cars or not. My opinion is that the automakers will try to push on the prices of the tariffs onto consumers, but because they're already not paying the prices that are out there right now, they're going to have to basically eat whatever the tariffs are because they're not going to be able to increase their prices on consumers and still stay alive because they're already struggling as it is. But if we go into my scenario where the auto manufacturers have to eat these tariffs and it's going to cost them more money to make these cars, do you feel like we even get a cheaper product than what we have right now? They might be able to still sell it for the same amount of money, but they have to make it a lot cheaper because they're having to pay so much money in tariffs, and they can't pass along that to the customer. So in that case, they would, in my opinion, just make a lot cheaper car as far as quality goes. And is that just going to create way more problems? We talk about recalls all the time down the road.
Well, I don't know that they can reduce quality any more than they already have.
Oh, yeah, it's already as bad as it can
Yeah,
get.
yeah, to make cheaper cars. I think maybe what they can do is decontent the cars to a certain degree so that they can become cheaper that way. Certain things that you were used to as being part of a trim level might no longer be part of that trim level anymore to help bring the cost down. I think there's a lot of manufacturers out there that are struggling mightily as we speak. And their profit margins have shrunk dramatically over the last 12 to 18 months. And some of them are in relatively deep financial trouble. And I don't know if you're already experiencing financial issues and a slowdown in business that you can effectively afford to cut your profit margin even more in order to absorb whatever these tariffs might be, if indeed there are tariffs. Um, because at a certain point you reach a tipping point where it's like, well, if we absorb all the tariffs and we're already not making enough money, um, before we start absorbing these tariffs, where the hell are we going to be as we absorb them? So I don't know. It's really going to be a fine line. Um, so I don't know what the answer is. I know the hope is that it drives manufacturing back to the United States. I get that. Um, but part of the reality is that the reason a lot of this manufacturing left the United States was because it was too expensive labor wise to build them here and be able to sell them here. So that they got farmed out to foreign countries where labor costs were cheaper so that they could be brought back to the United States and be somewhat affordable for, well, at this point, a a shrinking customer base. So even if you bring the manufacturing back, who the hell's going to be able to afford the cars? Um,
Yeah.
I just it's just to me it's such a conundrum. It really is. And I have I read things, that's all, and some of the things I read say, well, if tariffs go into effect, Americans are going to pay more. The price of products is going to go up. Um, is that purely speculation? I don't know. We'll find out if the price of products go up. If the price of products stay the same or go down, then I guess there's nothing to it. But there's only one way to find out.
And I look at a brand like Nissan. I don't see any way how Nissan survives tariffs, because you look at either scenario, the one where I think it's in the camp of you where Nissan is going to have to raise their prices.
Yes,
Well, they're already not selling their cars right now. They're
yes,
already in emergency mode. That's from
yes.
their CEO. If they raise their prices $3,000 to $5,000 across the board because of tariffs, they're going to go under. Okay. And then you go the flip side of my scenario where, okay, tariffs come in, but auto manufacturers can't put the price on the customer because the customer's already not buying it. But now you have $3,000 to $5,000 worth of margin that's soaked up from these tariffs. In that scenario, Nissan doesn't survive. So either way, I think Nissan is just, I mean, if tariffs hit, Nissan's going to go under. That's the prediction that I would make.
Well, Nissan will be
And
owned.
they'll be bought out. They'll be bought out by somebody.
They'll be
Yeah.
owned by somebody else,
Yeah.
who I don't know. But it's just you don't know. You don't. This is truly some unknown, uncharted territories. Um, I mean, you can read what President-elect Trump has said, um, and then you can try and figure out, well, out of what he has suggested, what of that can he actually do? So it's hard to know. It's just hard to know, and I think we have to sit back and actually allow what's going to happen, whatever it may be, allow it to happen so we can see how it plays out. Um, you know, I just know the one thing I do know, if there are tariffs, and my hope is that there isn't, but if there are, well, the tariff ends up being paid by the ultimate purchaser of the product, whatever the product may be, because the middle person who brings the product in from whatever country it was produced that has the tariff on it, that middle person pays the tariff. So if the middle person could buy something for $10 and there's a $2 tariff attached to it, ultimately it means they're paying $12 for that $10 item. Well, the middle person buying it isn't buying it so they can sell it and make nothing. Now, if the selling price of the item that they were originally buying for $10 was going to be $13, and they could make $3 for every one of these that they sold, and they're going to pay a $2 tariff and they still want to make $3, well, then that means instead of selling it for $13 per item, they have to sell it for 15. Ultimately, the customer pays for it. The retail customer is the one that pays for it. That's the only thing that I understand about tariffs. If you cause the price to go up to bring it into the country, then the price that it gets sold for to the ultimate customer goes up. And that means the retail customer is the one that's paying for it. That's
Yeah.
all I know.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And I think on 95% of the goods that are out there, that's probably what's going to happen. But I just think in the car market, you're going to have maybe you have MSRPs that go up, but cars aren't going to move. So you're going to have manufacturers come in and add more incentives, and that's going to hit their bottom line. So either way, it's going to be bad for consumers. It's going to be bad in the car market. It's going to be bad for consumers in the short term. I have to caveat all this because of we got to get political at some point, and that's what we're doing. Bad for consumers short term, bad for manufacturers short term, bad for the car market short term, and probably some brands are going to shift hands because they're not going to make it if they have to add $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle, whether it's on their end or it's on the consumer end.
And we already know that only 16% of the population feels as if they can afford to buy a new car as it is. Well, if cars go up in price even a little bit, well, that's going to contract the number of people who can afford to buy even further. So you're going to have fewer and fewer people to sell to at a higher price. Uh, I don't know how all that plays out and how all that works. I am a simple person with a simple mind, and it simply seems to me that if you raise the cost, then you're going to raise the selling price.
All right, so all of you watching it here, I know most of you are not subscribed, so I need you to hit that subscribe button. Whatever we need to do to get you to hit that subscribe button, Ray will do it. So just hit it for us and let us know what he needs to do down in the comments to get you to subscribe. But you know what, Ray? There is one company out there that has the answer to all of these problems that we have been discussing.
Yes.
What we have Lucid that is bringing out their Gravity crossover with a price of $96,550. That's their starting price.
Yes.
And this is the answer to all the questions that no one was asking. And
Absolutely.
I just want to hear what you have to think about this car.
It amazes me that in the EV space, that to think that the vehicle that's going to save the day for Lucid is $100,000 SUV. That's a form of insanity that I just didn't think existed. Um, and the reality is they're starting production with their highest price SUV. The base SUV, which won't be available until 2026, if I remember correctly, is going to start under $70,000.
Here
But
we go. We got the Touring that's available late 2025 for
okay,
$79,900, and then the Grand Touring is available to order now for
yes,
$95,000,
that's
and we can
free.
design ours right now.
Yes, I mean how and they expect to build 9,000 of them. 9,000. I mean, this is a company that loses what, about $300,000 per vehicle sold. They don't sell very many vehicles. Um, they apparently built a lovely vehicle. The Air sedan is a lovely looking vehicle. The Gravity, which is going to
Ah,
come in and
ah,
save the
ah,
day.
ah. You, sir, were not even close. At least if Google has anything to say about
Okay,
this, Lucid lost over 227,000 per car sold.
okay, there you
That's
have it.
excluding their overhead costs.
Yes,
And this was part of 630.9 million net loss for a quarter.
yes,
A quarter.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yes.
What? Just give me some money. You wouldn't even know it's gone. If you're losing that much money, just give me some.
Yeah, $227,000 per vehicle sold is how
My
much they lose.
goodness.
And so I don't know. I don't know how you say to yourself, well, you become a mass market brand um, by coming out with a $100,000 SUV. Yeah, it's got great range. Who cares? Who can afford it? It just I just for and we know you own a couple electric vehicles, and we know electric vehicle sales, even though they're growing, are growing at a much slower rate than what had originally been anticipated for this year. For the past probably 18 months, EV sales have slowed to a certain degree. Not saying that they haven't increased in sales as a percentage of vehicles being purchased. They have. They just haven't grown as quickly as what had been anticipated. So, how do you, if you're trying to grow a market segment and you're trying to become a player in that market segment, and you've lost on average $227,000 per vehicle that you've sold up until this point, why is it that you come out with the most expensive SUV in your model lineup first, as opposed to your least expensive, so that, I don't know, maybe you could attract some customers?
So what's their selling point? Is it just like the most luxurious electric vehicle that you can buy now? Is that their selling point? Is that what they're trying to do?
Well, their range and their quickness, and the fact that if you own one, you're part of a relatively exclusive club.
Well, the range, I just pulled the range up on this. So here's what the is a 2025 Lucid Air. So this is going to be, I mean, it's not the SUV. This is their car that they put out,
Yes,
and range, what I'm seeing around 400 to like average what 450. Let's put it in the middle of all these numbers, about 450. I
yes,
have a 2019 Model S, and
yes.
the range on my Model S is 350 or 60 miles.
Okay,
And I I paid $22,000 for my Model S.
Yeah.
I don't think really range is the biggest, because if there's Teslas out there now that you can buy new for like 50, anywhere 45, $50,000, that you're getting the range of over right at 400 miles. So the range is not so much to dominate that price. I think they're going more towards the luxury is the biggest. So they've got the highest range of the electric vehicles that are out there to be bought, but I don't think that justifies the price. And maybe I'm just naive to this, but I don't think any of this justifies the price, honestly.
It seems overly expensive to me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why an SUV has to be $100,000, electric or not. You know, and I know the Hummer SUVs over 100. Um, I just it just seems so limiting. You know, you're limiting the number of people you could ever hope to sell your vehicles to. I don't understand how that ever turns into a profitable endeavor. But you know, what do I know? I'm just a former washed up car guy.
So here's one of their packages. I don't. This is not the highest package
Yeah.
for one of their Airs, and I know it's not the highest because I just saw on the previous screen the highest had like over 500 miles of range.
Wow.
0 to 60 time was like 1.9.
Oh my
But
goodness.
this one right here. Well, my S, I don't have the Plaid, but my S is 2.9.
Okay.
But this one's 3.4. And it's got 377 miles of range. And this one's it's right at $90,000 for this one. And that's not the top. That's not the top level. It's not even close to the top level.
Wow. Well, okay. Well, you know the good news about this segment, it's kind of taken the lucid off of my potential list of replacement cars for my Mini.
Where are you at with that? Because I think I can help you out with this better than Zach can. What have you limited it down to?
Well, I think I'm going to be either a Crosstrek, a Subaru Crosstrek, or a Mazda MX-50. I think those are the two that I'm seriously thinking about.
Have you sat in both of them already?
I have not. And the reason I have not is I checked on the payoff of my lease, and my lease has a payoff right now at $29,400. And the car is probably worth $26,000. So, you know, I'm like $3,400, as we say in the car business. I'm about $3,400 flipped on my so, which indicates to me that the good time to get rid of my trade is, well, when the damn lease is up in May and I can just turn it back in. So I have time to you know, I just don't feel like going into the dealerships in December saying, hey, listen, I spent 43 years in retail automotive and I don't want to jerk you around, but I'm in the market for a car in May. I just want to sit in the damn things. You know, because the salespeople are going to, you know, well, my manager's going to say I have to spend time with you. You want me to tell the manager that you don't have to spend time with me?
Ray, you're famous. You're the face of Car Edge. I mean, you walk in and those dealerships are going to just lay out the red carpet for you as soon as you walk in there, or they're going to cut you out once, and you'll know as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not rolling out the red carpet. So I just, you know, I have compassion for the salespeople to not really want to take up their time in December just to go sit in these vehicles for when I'm actually not going to buy one till May. Because there's just no way to make it financially make sense when I'm $3,400 flipped.
Well, instead of throwing away your money again on this
Yeah.
next lease, then why don't you just
I'm,
come
I'm
down to
going to
my?
buy. I'm not going to lease
Oh,
again.
you're gonna buy?
I'm
Okay,
going to
good,
buy.
good, good.
It's going to be my last car, and I'm going to buy.
Well, instead of going that route,
Yeah.
you just need to come down to my car dealership, and
Yeah.
I'll fit you. I'll fit you at a nice 2003 Ford Taurus with about 180,000 miles.
Yeah.
You pay $3,000. I'll give you a discount. I'll give you the friends and family discount. It'll be $2,500 out the door, and we'll just get you on down the road.
Yeah, my fear is how far down the road.
All the way down the road. Ford Tauruses go all the way down the road.
I appreciate that. I really do. And may I say, what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of in terms that ultimately, it'll probably end up being Zach's car. Because he doesn't have a car, and my daughter and her husband, well, they have a car, so that.
I told Zach I would give him a car. Like it's going to be a $500 car, but I would give him a car.
His father's going to give him a car when he drops dead, for goodness sake. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Tell every living person you know that they need to subscribe to Car Sense with Brandon and Ray.